I lived alone in one house, while my daughter and her husband, Bill, lived next door. One day, my daughter left for a month-long trip. Shortly after, Bill came to my house, explaining that my daughter had left him and he needed somewhere to stay. He stayed for 3 days, coming over to eat, then returning to his own house to sleep. Eventually, he told me he was tired of the back and forth and would prefer to stay with me for a while. I was happy for the company. He was a handsome man of 40, tall and well-built. One evening, he came out of the shower wrapped in a towel and walked into the hallway. I followed, wanting to ask him something. That's when I saw him. He was completely naked, drying his hair with the towel. My eyes were drawn to his exposed body, specifically his large, erect penis. My daughter was indeed fortunate. Her own father had a much smaller endowment, which had often left me unsatisfied. I couldn't tear my gaze away. Bill noticed me staring, became embarrassed, and apologized. I went to the kitchen and began cooking. The image of Bill's penis burned into my mind. I felt a heat and wetness between my legs, a sensation I hadn't experienced in years. At 56, I was slim and looked younger than my age. Later, I noticed Bill wearing shorts, and I couldn't help but imagine what was underneath. I suspected he saw me looking. That evening, I invited him for tea. He came to the kitchen wearing tight shorts, his erection clearly visible. I felt like he was deliberately provoking me. We talked and drank tea, then he went to the living room, lay on the sofa in his underwear, and watched TV under a light blanket. I joined him. He offered to share the blanket and placed my hand on his leg, under the fabric. I felt his warmth and the solid length of his penis. A fire ignited between my legs. I couldn't resist him, nor did I want to. He dominated me that night, and I reveled in it. In the morning, I felt a pang of shame, but he dismissed it, saying we would have regretted it if we hadn't. For the week before my daughter's return, we continued our affair. The day before she arrived, he moved back to his own house. Some time later, I realized I was pregnant. I decided to keep the baby, telling my daughter it was the result of an affair with a married man. Bill knew the truth but played no part in raising the child. 5 years later, my daughter divorced Bill, and he moved away. We never saw him again.